Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden, and I'm broadcasting live from Ottawa. So nice to see you here on this Friday morning. I wish I had better news for you. We've got some bad news and some good news to deliver today. And so just wait for this. We'll be back in mere moments.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Thanks for joining us today. It's really a pleasure to be here today. And shortly, we're going to have my good friend Camille Elchake on the show to discuss this tomorrow, 10 o'clock in Ottawa, 10 o'clock everywhere across Canada. If you're in a provincial capital, go to the legislature. If you're in Edmonton, if you're in Alberta, go to Edmonton. If you're in BC, go to Victoria. If you're in Toronto, if you're Ontario, go to Toronto or come to Ottawa. That's the national place we're having this. And it's been the third time I've been the master of ceremonies. I'm just proud to march in this because we need the government to take its hands off our children. And what does this mean? Stop the gender indoctrination. Stop the LGBTQ pride flag indoctrination in the schools. Let kids be kids. Stop sexualizing children. Stop it. Tell the school boards across the country. Tell the governments across the country. Tell the media across the country to get your hands off our children because we've had enough. And believe me, we have had enough of this. And it's time to fight back. Here are the values of this organization. One nation, one flag, and that is the Canadian flag, not the pride flag. Trust Canada's parents to parent Canada's kids. Number 3, no sexual indoctrination in schools at any age. Clean and healthy education based on true science is welcome, but anything against our religion and morals is absolutely rejected. What religion? All faiths. Christian, Judaic, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, all faiths. We will hold politicians, school boards, teachers, organizations, corporations, and unions accountable for politicizing our children and putting them in harm's way. We are a Canadian organization dedicated to uniting the country. That's what this is all about. And it's such a pleasure to be a part of this tomorrow. So I'm going to put on, before I get to that, before we have Camille on, and I just have to check that he's ready here. I wanted to have my good friend Katie Pasit on the show this morning. And she received some very bad news yesterday. And she told me immediately about it. That the death squad is coming for 399 ostriches on Universal Ostrich Farms in British Columbia. You know, I don't know where to begin with this because it's absolutely catastrophic that the government thinks it can intimidate, instill fear in, terrorize farmers to the degree that they're doing in this country. This is absolutely horrible. So Katie texted me yesterday and said, hey, we are literally days away. It could happen Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. And I see Camille has joined the show. I'm going to put Camille on. We'll talk later about what this means, what this incredible invasion of private property, invasion of our basic rights means for all Canadians, it's not just about 399 ostriches. It's not just about Katie and her family. As close as I am to this story, it's about everybody in Canada. And I was just about to add Camille. And
All right.
Camille, you're back. Okay.
Sorry, just doing
Happens.
some clerical work for the team. The team is, at this time of year, brother, they're just jumping all over the place, and I just parked.
Hey, happens to the best of stations. Okay. This is what
So
you do.
sorry about that. God bless you.
It's like live television, Camille. It's exciting because you never know what's going to happen next. But that's why I like it that way. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So, my friend, I love you so much. It's so good to have you back.
I love you too, man. And I love our nation. That's what's important. Spread love, not hate, my friends.
Well, that's what you always do. And I got to tell you something, Camille, because I woke up this morning feeling so depressed about things in Canada because where we're going as a country. I got news yesterday from my good friend Katie from the Universal Ostrich Farms that the death squad is coming from Mark Carney for their ostriches. They're healthy ostriches. This is the government, over encroaching upon private property, livestock, livelihood. But then I thought, hey, Saturday is the Million People March for Children, and which I have been a part of since the very beginning, and I will be a part of as long as this event continues to thrive and exist. And so, how are we looking, Camille, for tomorrow? Is this still going to be a coast to coast venture?
It's a coast to coast venture. It's organized chaos, David, but the teams are jumping all over the place. You're in some of the groups. You see people asking questions, mobilizing and stuff like that. This year, obviously, we have, a lot of people working around the clock, obviously, like every year. And then there are some people for health issues, employment issues. They're sitting on the sidelines, but helping in a smaller capacity. So there's that challenges, the growing pains of that. And of course, it's so funny that everything is happening on September 20th. I wonder why. I mean, like the ostrich farm that's brought to my attention. Obviously, we're in solidarity with the farmers there. That is an incredible property and intellectual, I guess property issue, not intellectual, sorry. And we're concerned about that. And the government is going to carry out the slaughter tomorrow. That was brought to my attention. And tomorrow also they're doing so many different events. And it's so funny that it all happens on September 20th, kind of like trying to keep people busy so they don't come to the Million People March. But Canadians are very smart on that. And hopefully, when in calling, I've spoken to people in Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, and everything else. I've noticed that everybody has that circled on their calendar. So the We Unite event in Calgary, I spoke to a couple of people going out there. They're going to go to the Calgary March. And, shout out to Anil for trying to prepare that as best as he can. But, Calgary kind of is laid back a bit because Premier Danielle Smith took out some of the books out there. And anyway, that's what's going on right now. And we're just telling Canadians, just come out there. The principles are very simple, and just repeat those principles: one nation, one flag. We trust Canada's parents to parent Canada's kids. It's very easy.
Yeah. Oh, Camille, I can't tell you how much that means to me reading that, because I get pushback from people saying, we can't trust all faiths in Canada. And I say all faiths in Canada agree on several things, and this is one of them. And you mentioned Premier Daniel Smith. I've sent an invitation to the Premier to participate in the march tomorrow from the Alberta Legislature in Edmonton. And last night we learned that Premier Danielle Smith, ironically, who was somebody who was more concerned with fiscal politics than she was with social policy, has said she's prepared to use the notwithstanding clause in Alberta to defend her legislation against transgender indoctrination in the schools. And I said,
Oh,
my God, she's done it again. You know, she never ceases to amaze me. And I've known Danielle Smith for 20 years. I think she's the best premier in Canada. I think she's the only premier in Canada, and probably the only politician with the courage and the guts to speak out on the issues that really matter to Canadians. And I salute her for this, and I hope she participates tomorrow. And if she's not able to, I'll understand, because when she says Alberta will invoke the notwithstanding clause to protect children in that province, I say God bless you.
well, yeah, God bless her. And you know, it's funny. Every premier has that opportunity to embrace what parents are asking for from coast to coast. Parents are just, look, we don't want to oppress our fellow Canadians of the pride community. You want to live your life the way you see fit, you go right ahead. The problem that we have is just don't bring it to our kids. We'll educate our kids in our own way. If I'm a Protestant Canadian or a evangelical Canadian or a Muslim Canadian, I have my ideals. I'm raising those kids. I think, you know, it's funny that we're seeing parents right now with this radical gay theory, pride ideology. We're seeing parents as taboo. Well, you, the pride community, you came from parents, and we're saying let's let the parents parent Canada's kids. So, Premier Danielle Smith is being innovative, and she's responding to that, and she's going into uncertain territory. That's gutsy. And she'll be rebuked for the short term, but obviously will be revered for these, these things that she's doing in terms of reform. Hopefully, Doug Ford can do this in Ontario. He says he's going to do it, but we don't see it. You know what I mean? And that's what we're trying to do with September 20th every year. Is first thing, we're uniting the nation, one flag, and that's the Canadian flag. Everybody agrees that, you're living in Canada, you love Canada, that's why you're living here. Go carry that flag, red and white, okay? We come together based on our commonalities while respecting each other's differences. We have a lot of differences. You go into a home, you'll see siblings quarrel with each other on a hockey team, on some kind of meal, the taste buds. We quarrel on everything. But the end result is what unites us is our kids, David. And the Million People March should be used as a tool to welcome every Canadian peacefully, respect the rule of law, respect our police officers and everybody helping us out, okay? And we'll mobilize together. This day is to show off that you're a mother, to show off that you're a father, be proud of that, and to show off your kids and your grandparents and your aunts and uncles, to show off what makes civilization progress. It's families, it's love, it's commonalities, it's going to your local church or your mosque. Everybody does that. Everybody does that naturally. We're just displaying it that day from coast to coast. We want to beat the number for 2023, that 1.5 million. We didn't get the numbers last year because of censorships and all this tutelage everywhere you go. Everybody's focus is being taken away, David. What we want to say is let's go back to first principles, brother, and go. And if you can display the principles for Canadians to see that I sent to you, that would be appreciated. You abide by that, everybody. I challenge anybody to disagree with that.
I challenge anybody to disagree with that too, Camille, because this is what this march is all about. Ever since I decided to participate in this march, I said it's an all faith reunion. We're all getting together to say what we agree on, not what we disagree on. No, we don't agree on theology. But
of course.
did
That's what
everybody
makes you an
agree on
evangelical
theology?
Christian, makes me a Muslim.
No,
But we're brothers.
that's it. Did everybody agree on theology in 1867 when we had Confederation? No, they didn't. But they agreed on basic principles of freedom. And that's what we have jettisoned over the years. And that's why I support this event 100% because it brings people of all faiths together on the things they do agree on. And this is the exact opposite of what the Mark Carney government is doing right now. It's identity politics. It wants to divide Canadians on the basis of race, ethnicity, sexuality, and everything else. Put them in silos so they don't talk to each other. And this is why I support this event so wholeheartedly, because it's all about bringing people together on the things they agree with. And what do they agree with? The state should not be raising my children. That's Nazi Germany. That's Soviet Russia. That's not Canada. But it's become Canada. And thank God you have been arguing otherwise.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So here's an example of the Canadian fabric. An evangelical Christian brother, I call him my brother. We're brothers of the Abrahamic book. We both believe in Jesus, Moses. I believe in an extra prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him. But I believe in Abraham and Adam. So there's a lot of things that we believe in. But at the end of the day, no matter how much we quarrel at the universities or in a coffee, we all probably work in the same place for the federal government, and we mind our business and we work together in teams. We're sent together on special projects. We go to a hockey game. I'm an Ottawa Senators fan. Somebody's a Leafs fan, and there's 20,000 people cheering on a team, and those issues are insignificant then. So if you're able to go to a hockey game or you're able to go to Canada Day and get a beaver tail and you're able to go work in the government Canada and you're able to pay taxes like everybody else in the country and be a citizen, this million people march should be able to unite the country from coast to coast, coming together, right? And disagree and agree all the time. That's how civilization works. Idea meritocracy, David.
Amen to that. And I'm looking forward to this. We're going forward. This is a very difficult news cycle right now because it's being dominated by things we can't control, including the Charlie Kirk assassination. And it's very difficult to get news in right now. We have done everything possible to do so. But I know that God is going to come through on this event this year. And Camille, thank you again for the work you do and the work that your people do across the country.
Amazing. The team is amazing, David. It's a lot of passionate Canadians, and that's what gives me the energy to continue as well, brother. And by the way, you mentioned Charlie Kirk, a young man going into the universities. Whether you agree or disagree with him, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that man was engaging in idea meritocracy. Thou shalt not kill is something that's said in the Bible, in the Torah, and in the Quran. Somebody disagrees with you, you don't take them out with a bullet shot, right? That's just the way it works.
Exactly.
Right? And so let's have peaceful dialogue. I mean, does that make sense to people? And obviously there's a lot to do with that. Obviously, he started questioning the powers that be, and the powers that be said, well, you know what? Let's just get rid of the guy because he has influence. He's an evangelical Christian, and he's a devout one, and he's a father and a husband. That's very sad to see that in a peaceful setting, somebody is shot, unfortunately, and gone. That's not right. That's not right. And we condemn that. We condemn anybody who gets killed in vain. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, anybody who is killed in vain, that is killed, you will have killed the rest of humanity. Right? And wow. I'm sure I can get quotes from Jesus and Moses the same way, right? And that's look, we need to spread love in a time of hate. We need to give a little certainty and direction in a time of uncertainty. And that's what we're committed to at Hands Off Our Kids. We want you marching from coast to coast. This is your march. If there's no organizer in your area, bring your strollers, bring your kids. Let's add to that number. By noon, we want 1 million people marching from coast to coast in solidarity with Canadian kids.
You know, I don't think anybody could put it better than that. And then the next time some halfwit tells me that we should not work together with Muslims or other faiths, I'm going to put this on and say, listen to what Camille Elchake had to say about that. Because this, you said it all. You said exactly what needs to be said to those people out there who want to live in silos. I'm not living in a silo. I am reaching out to everybody who wants freedom back in Canada because that's what Canada was about. It was never a uniparty. It was never about we all had the same faith. It was about freedom. And I'm sorry we're losing that right now, but we're gonna fight to get that back tomorrow. Camille, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
very
me
much,
today,
Dave.
and I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. And we're fighting this fight together as we always have.
God
Thank
bless
you, Camille. God bless you too. I love you. Bye bye.
Love you too, brother.
And of course, it was Camille Elchake, my good friend, who is leading the Million People March for Children tomorrow, September 20th. Be there. If you're in Ottawa, it's at Parliament Hill. Yes, there'll be other people there who don't share your Christian faith. I'm an evangelical Christian. I don't agree with Camille and everything. we have theological differences, but we think parents should raise their children without the state interfering. I share that philosophy with Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, a lot of people who are a different faith than I. Do I agree with them theologically? No. But I agree with them philosophically on who should be raising your kids in this society, not the government, not the state, not Mark Carney, not Doug Ford. You, the parents, should be raising your children. And that's important. So let's get back now to what's happening in British Columbia. And I sent an invite to Katie Pasit to join the show. And she's tired. She's dog tired, as I said to her in my last text. You must be dog tired after all of this. And no, I don't think she's going to join the show. But what she got yesterday was incredible. And I'm going to move to my X account to find it. All right, here we go. Okay, I put this up yesterday because this is incredible. And Katie sent me, first of all, a personal message saying it looks like, we're going to lose our babies, as she described them. Can you imagine if the government came in your door and said, give us your dog or your cat? We're going to kill it because it might have had some influenza 9 months ago. How would you react to that? You'd probably say, go to hell or F off. And that's exactly what our reaction should be. So I'm going to read this to you because I put this out yesterday on X shortly after Katie sent it to me. Last stand, Universal Ostrich Farm. If you've been waiting, wondering when the right time would be to come to stand with us, that time is now. We have given notice. The killing of nearly 400 healthy, thriving ostriches could begin Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. And it could begin as early as Saturday night, as we've discovered. These animals are alive. Their hearts are beating. Their warm skin, bright eyes, and resilient strength are proof of their health. And yet, not one ostrich on our farm has ever been tested. Why? Because if they were tested, the truth would be undeniable. They are well. They are resilient. They are full of hope. Okay. And what happens if the ostrich farms test these ostriches? 6 months in jail and a $20,000 fine. This is bigger than Edgewood. This is a battle between big pharma and true evidence-led innovative science that explores natural therapeutic research capable of healing. Do you wonder why we're being targeted? This is not just about one farm. It's about the future, generations to come, food security, biodiversity, and the right for science, true science. I added that, and evidence to matter more than speculation and policy. We are calling for unity. We are calling for peace. We're calling for people of power to rise up. Come to the farm, stand with us, take to the streets, make your presence known, protest with love, with nonviolence, and with conviction that lives matter. The court of public opinion can expose speculation when evidence is denied. The people's voice is stronger than silence. This is our last stand. These animals deserve life, not slaughter. Together, we can change the outcome. Now, I tell you, I found that almost too hard to read because I've gotten to know Katie over the last couple of months. I first had her on the show in May. I looked back and I said, it just seems like it was yesterday, but I had her on the show in May. And I've never pretended to be objective about this story. Any more than I would be objective about the Holocaust. I think there's only one narrative there. I think there's only one narrative here. The government is trying to kill 399 ostriches without any scientific reason. They're making it up. These birds have been free of any influenza, any virus, for almost a year now. It's because of natural immunity. And why does that bother the government so much? Because they want to sell vaccines to you. Big Pharma says, hey, natural immunity, no, that's cutting in on our profits. And I want to show you this video. This is fantastic because this might be Brett Wise might be the key to getting this story out this weekend on U.S. news. Because believe me, I was trying to get this out yesterday unredacted, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to do so. There were other things to talk about. But listen to this.
Just a tiny bit about what's going on with the Universal Ostrich Farm in British Columbia, which sounds like it has nothing to do with this, but it really does.
No, it really does.
It really does. So the Universal Ostrich Farm in British Columbia, not too far from the U.S. border here on the West Coast where we are, has had ostriches for decades. And in December 2024 and January of this year, they had 69 of their flock die. And it is presumed that they died of avian flu, although that isn't actually certain. All of the living herd, of which there are 400-ish individuals, have been, quote, according to a September 6 article in Rebel News, healthy and symptom-free for 235 days. So they had a substantial fraction, less than a fifth, but a substantial fraction of their flock, which they've had for decades, die. But the vast majority of them have been healthy and symptom-free for much more than half a year. It's now come to a head because the Canadian, I don't remember what the acronym is, but the Canadian Animal Safety something regulatory structure is saying that the entire flock needs to be culled in order to get avian flu out of existence. And of course, the owners of the farm and many other people, largely being reported on again at Rebel News, have said this is ridiculous. These animals are healthy. You're also You also have no right to to declare our animals unsafe when there's no evidence that they are, and kill our animals, which will inherently kill our business. But compare that to the mainstream coverage, of which there hasn't been a lot. But we have, for instance, let's see, we have, for instance, in Politico, and this is just in chronological order of 3 articles that I found covering this story. So this is going to be mid-July. Politico, why RFK Jr. wants Canada to pardon 400 ostriches. So right away, the way into this story is it's Bobby Kennedy. You know what to think, right?
Also, pardon, which
it's true. Yeah, pardon. Yeah.
Pardon.
So just the first 4 paragraphs of this article in Politico. Ottawa, the fate of nearly 400 Canadian ostriches, which Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is trying to save, now rests with federal justices in Ottawa. As the controversial case makes its way through court, members of U.S. President Donald Trump's administration, right-wing influencers, and a Republican megadonor are urging the Liberal government to spare the ostriches that were exposed to bird flu. The Secretary has urged Canada not to kill the ostriches, but to do further testing to try to better understand the virus, a spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services told Politico. MAGA supporters and Canada's Freedom Convoy, which blockaded Ottawa for weeks over COVID-19 measures, have coalesced around the cause, which they say is an example of government overreach and erosion of institutional trust and outdated policies. So there's a lot to object to here, but just the entire framing is, if you agree with this stance, recognize that your fellow travelers are MAGA supporters and Freedom Convoy supporters, and their description of blockaded Ottawa for weeks over COVID-19 measures. Everything about the descriptions here are wrong, but also they are just trying to make you feel icky about thinking that maybe the ostriches should be saved because other people who think that are far right-wing lunatics, like apparently us. Here we have a couple weeks later in the Wall Street Journal, why America is rallying to save 400 Canadian ostriches. A plan to euthanize birds prompts RFK Jr. and other U.S. officials to come to the animal's defense, and an offer from Dr. Oz. So again, just a little bit from the middle of this article. It is government overreach at its worst because we have rights as landowners, said Katie Pasit, whose mother, Karen Asperson, is co-owner of the farm. The animals have recovered from the outbreak and have developed herd immunity, she said. These animals, we own them, the government doesn't. Under Canada's policy for dealing with avian flu outbreaks, officials will kill any commercial flock whose members have been exposed. Canada's Food Inspection Agency has said even if the rest of the herd doesn't show symptoms, the virus may be dormant and could mutate. Killing the entire herd is the best way to ensure it doesn't spread. And that's just a statement in here as if it's true. The world has been lucky that the virus hasn't spread widely to humans, said Dr. Gregory Torres, head of the science department of the Paris-based World Organization for Animal Health. We should not leave this virus circulating.
Oh my God.
Okay, so before you respond, one more piece on this story from the mainstream media. This is WAPO. This is Washington Post. A few weeks later, August 22nd, so just a few weeks ago, Canadian court allows cull of 400 ostriches that RFK Jr. hoped to save. And here, from the middle of this piece, mass slaughter has long been the chief strategy for containing bird flu, a highly contagious disease caused by influenza A viruses spread among wild birds, aquatic birds, birds of prey, and waterfowl, as well as domestic birds such as poultry. An outbreak this year resulted in more than 120 million hens being slaughtered and egg prices rising to record levels. Humans can also become infected with bird flu, although this is rare, with cases typically involving people who come into close contact with infected birds. So lots to say here, obviously, but let me just start by pointing out that in this paragraph that I just read from the Washington Post article from August 22nd of this year, note the clever use of rhetoric. Oh my God, bird flu. It's highly contagious. Look at all the birds who can get it. Quote, an outbreak this year resulted in more than 120 million ears being slaughtered and egg prices rising to record levels. No, it did not.
Wait. 120
million hens being slaughtered and egg prices rising to record levels.
Got it.
An outbreak this year resulted in policies being employed that caused the slaughter of hens. And once the hens were dead and therefore egg production was down because the animals that produce eggs were dead, egg prices rose. That is not attributable to bird flu. that is attributable to the policies around bird flu.
And that's exactly the point. This has nothing to do with science. And I want to end the program on this note. And I was hoping Katie could join us, but I think she's just too tired to do so. I'm going to do an interview with her later. Nazi science, Soviet science. It was all engineered not by simpletons, not by people who had no scientific basis. It was engineered by scientists with PhDs. They lent their PhDs, they lent their expertise, they lent their knowledge to the state to tell the state what they wanted to hear. And whether it's Nazi scientists who somehow found a reason that Slavic people and Jewish people were inferior racially to Aryans, or whether it was Soviet science that found that communism was triumphant. These were not stupid people. Dr. Joseph Mengele, who, of course, we all know from The Boys from Brazil and other tales, who died after being declared a war criminal. This was the man, the angel of death at Auschwitz. He had 2 PhDs. No, I'm sorry, he had a PhD and he was a doctor. Not a stupid man. Because science is always up for the highest bidder. Scientists are always available for the highest bidder. And they will lend their expertise and their knowledge and their science to whomever pays the highest price. In Canada's case, it was Justin Trudeau who said, we need evidence that this thing works. And of course, it didn't work. The COVID vaccine was neither safe nor effective. I can say that now. I can say that now. After all of these years, I can finally say the COVID vaccine was neither safe nor effective. And it continues to reap its results upon people. I want to say we are at a turning point in our history. We don't just need a tweaking of the government, a slight turn to the right. Do you think the people who were responsible for the American Revolution wanted just a slight tweak? No, they wanted a transformational government that actually believed in the rights of the people. And I'm sorry, folks, we've gone beyond that now. We've got a government that tells us what to do, how to think, how to act, and that thinks it can invade a family farm, steal their livelihood, and kill it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm ashamed that there hasn't been bigger pushback across this nation. Do you think you're going to hear that from the propagandists on YouTube, who will only report what Pierre Poilievre says? No, you won't. Because they're afraid to do so. Their numbers might drop. But I'm not afraid to do so. I'm not afraid to call out the conservatives for not opposing this. Where is Pierre Poilievre right now? I hope he should be. I hope he's looking at this right now and saying, well, maybe I should be on the side of the farmers. Because after all, my constituency is in an agricultural community in Alberta. But I don't see that happening. So let's get together this weekend and hope and pray that rationality that the right spirit prevails. Because believe me, I'm tired of hearing talking points from both the government and the opposition. I want to hear the government talk about human rights again. I want to hear the official opposition challenge the government on its record on human rights. And why did the government sell us out to globalism? Are we going to hear that? Probably not in the near future. But I tell you this, I will keep fighting for you, despite the fact that there are so many people out there fighting for themselves and being propaganda agents for political parties. This is not what this station is about. I'm a guest every week in Redacted, and I appreciate that, and I love them for that. And one thing they say is, don't tune in if you don't want to be offended, because we will challenge you. And that's what this station is all about. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow at the same time. No, actually, tomorrow we're doing the million people march, so we'll give you a recap of that later in the afternoon. Thanks for watching. We love you.